Welcome back, everybody. I'm Kevin. My wife Jillian is behind us, and this is our 5-month-old daughter Logan. And behind me is going to be our 2 crazy GSPs. And we're taking Logan on her first official walk on our property in North Carolina. So living in Florida, we are definitely out of shape and not used to walking on these hills. So right now we're actually walking up our driveway to our gate, and we actually own everything on the right side of the road over my right shoulder. So late spring, my parents and I planted roughly 2,000 square feet of zinnia seeds. So that's on the main part of the property. So once we do a little tour of the perimeter, we'll go check out the zinnia garden. The first few acres of property is everything on the right side, and then the property line actually crosses the road. So we own property on both sides. So we were able to actually put a gate up to stop people from driving up there because technically we now own the road. So from past the gate, everything up, we own both sides of the road. On our little walk today, we're going to be pointing out all the wild mushrooms that we find and wildflowers. We don't have our little mushroom pamphlet to point them all out and name them. So if you guys see any mushrooms that you recognize, feel free to drop a comment and let us know what they were. So behind me is the road that we put the gate on. There's a cul-de-sac right there, and that's where it ends. My dad came up here probably a year ago now with his excavator and made a driveway off the cul-de-sac, and that's gonna go all the way up here to maybe a future home site for us. So from our driveway, it kind of stops right here. There's actually an old, like, early 1900s logging trail that's kind of already cut into the mountain right there. And then our property still goes up, so we're gonna walk the property line. And I think Jillian pointed out a mushroom over here. So here's the corner of our property. We're gonna take a right, and now our property goes all the way that way. This tiny little deer wildlife trail. So do you think a deer took a bite of that one? Something did.
Maggie.
So right behind me is a creek that borders on our property. There's not a lot of water in it. The mountain that we're actually on, we're only a third of the way up, so there's still 2/3. It's a pretty big mountain. My parents have actually climbed all the way to the top. I'm pretty sure they just followed the creek and went all the way to the top. It is a disappearing creek, so there's hundreds of feet where there's nothing. It's underground, and then it pops back up as a spring. It'll go for 100 feet or so, and then go back underground, and then pop back up. So it is pretty cool. Of course, we'd like a traditional wider creek with a lot of rushing water and fun to cool off in the summer. But as you can see, there's still plenty of water for the dogs to go in. And if we wanted to, which is a little bigger, we could probably build a little dam with rocks, make a little pool to swim in, cool off. But like I said, it's a disappearing creek, and it's just one of the little bordering sides to our property. So this is actually a spot where the creek disappears. So up there you can see the stones, you can see the water, and then it kind of goes underneath all these root balls, goes totally underground, and continues down that way. And you don't see any water or anything. if you remember that disappearing creek that we just showed you, it actually reappears, and that turns into our very first pond right here. So we have a really nice pond. Probably 10 years ago, this was actually a trout pond. It was stocked with trout, and somewhere between now and then, we had an otter come on the property and actually annihilate all the fish. So there's actually barely any minnows in there right now. I would like to clean it back out and then order some trout and restock with the trout. Jillian and Logan are hanging out in the swing right now in the shade, but as you can tell, there's two strips that are mowed. This center aisle right here goes from Jillian all the way that way. It's about 150 yards long, and that's where we planted a strip of zinnias. So we did that early in the spring, and it's kind of the end of summer right now, so they're kind of all dying off. But I'm just gonna walk around and show you guys some of the ones that we still have alive. Jillian's still at the swing, and right now I'm actually walking across the dam that divides the first pond into the second. So we have a much larger pond right here. It's got a dock. It's a lot better for swimming. We've swum in there, we've fished. Many years ago, when this first one was stocked with trout, this one was actually stocked with bass and bluegill. And my parents and I camped on the property and actually caught fish and cleaned them and cooked them for dinner one night. It was pretty fun. But my mom and I would go bass fishing in here, and we'd get like 7 or 8 pound bass. But again, the same otter that went to the first pond came to the second pond and cleaned it out. So there's really nothing in there. I don't think there's any catfish. We haven't seen anything in a long time, just some little minnows and shiners that are probably about this big, and that's pretty much all you're gonna get. So like I said, I really wanna clean it out and maybe stock with bass again. So we'd have a trout pond, a bass pond, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. So as you can see, I usually mow this and weed whack it. I love mowing, it's very relaxing. But this year I want to try something different and try to mow it less and have all these natural wildflowers come up, as well as all the ones we planted. So it actually turned out pretty nice. Jillian just pointed out that she saw a snapping turtle, or a soft-shelled turtle. We're not sure if it was a snapping turtle yet, but that could also be another reason why some of the fish, or all the fish, are disappearing. The strip of flowers is actually more of an experiment, and actually turned out really well. And I think next go around, I'm actually gonna add some sunflowers to the mix. So we'd have zinnia garden that are gonna bloom for months, and then we're gonna have sunflowers. I'm not sure why I didn't think of doing sunflowers before, but I think it'd be really cool to have this whole little field right here, just nothing but flowers that are gonna just come up every year. And dogs are having fun. No quail out here. Maybe we'll have to buy some quail, release them for the bird dogs. But we're gonna walk down to the dock of the second pond. It's mid-September, and as you can see, some of the leaves are already starting to change. Looks like Goose is on something. Earlier this year, my dad took his excavator up here and we actually cleared out a driveway that goes from where the gate was when we first entered our property. We're gonna make a hard right off that, and it comes right down here and actually goes across the second dam. So we can actually drive and camp down here and bring machinery and the mowers and everything. So this is, again, the second pond that had the bass in it. And if we pan to the right, we're actually walking across another dam, and we have a third pond that is actually drained at the moment. It actually has a leak in it. So we haven't really had time to investigate it to kind of fix the leak and fill it back up with water. So there's actually 3 ponds. There's the trout pond, the bass pond, and then this one right here. So as you can see, the water line normally would be up there, but the valve is open, so it's kind of just drained right now. And of course, it's all full of grass. So I got to get the lawnmower and the weed whacker and clean it all up. But this is the center of our property. We do actually have a lot of wildlife on this property. It backs up to U.S. forestry, which is 25,000 acres. So essentially, we could just walk out the back of our property on that 25,000 acres and go hunting or hiking. And the Appalachian Trail actually runs through that. So if we were really motivated, we could actually walk from our property, pick up the Appalachian Trail, and then go north or south. So that'd be kind of fun one day to do a little overnighter on the Appalachian Trail again. But we do have a lot of bears. There's actually a trail up here that we've kind of dubbed the bear trail because there's always bear poop on it. And we see a lot of bear prints. So it's kind of like the little bear highway. We try not to walk on it too much because we don't want the bears to, I don't know if they would smell us and they would not use it anymore, but we kind of like the fact that there's a path with bears. We do have a lot of deer, and we also have, surprisingly, a lot of turkey. There's a whole group of turkey and about 12 of them that hang out. And they'll pass through once or twice a day, and we actually see or hear them roost up in the trees at nighttime. This grassy area also doubles as our 150 yard gun range. So we have some metal targets over here. We got this little spinning one. So thank you for joining Logan's first official little tour of the property. And again, if you recognize any of those mushrooms or any of those little wildflowers that we took a little video or picture of, please leave a comment and tell us which one's which. We'd love to learn more about the things that are growing on our property. Thank you.